All right, scholars, here we are today at lesson 59. So if you don't have your reading book in your packet, press pause, go grab your blue reading book in your packet, then continue with me. Lesson 59 today. Touching column 1. That first word is Io. What word? Right, Io. Io is a large moon that circles around Jupiter. Word 2 is surround. What word? Right, surround. If something surrounds you, it is all the way around you. So, what would be another way of saying the wall goes all the way around the city? Yes, the wall surrounds the city. Word 3, instead. What word? Right, instead. Word 4 is view. What word? Good, view. And word 5 is area. What word? Correct, area. Let's do column 1 the quick way. Ready? Io, surround, instead, view, area. Find column 2. All the words in column 2 have endings on them called suffixes. So I'm going to give you the root word, and then you tell me the whole word. Word 1, the root word is circle. So what's that whole word? Yes, circling. 2, the root word is complete. What's that whole word? Good, you completed that one well. Word 3, the root word is complain. What's the whole word? Yes, complained. Number 4, the root word is bathroom. What's the whole word? Yes, bathrooms. And number 5, the root word is rocket. What's the whole word? Right, rocketing. Good work. Let's do column 2 the quick way. Watch those suffixes. Circling, completed, complained, bathrooms, rocketing. Nice job, scholars. Let's go to column 3. All the words in column 3 also have suffixes on them. Let's do the same thing. Number 1, the root word is snore. What's the whole word? Right, snored. 2, the root word is shower. What's the whole word? Yes, showers. Word 3, the root word is serve. What's the whole word? Correct, serving. Number 4, the root word is stripe. What's the whole word? Yes, striped. 5, the root word is exercise. What's the whole word? Correct, exercises. Number 6, the root word is erupt. What's the whole word? Correct, erupting. Well, I bet you're erupting with excitement about doing column 3 the quick way. Here we go. Snored, showers, serving, striped, exercises, erupting. Good work, scholars. Did you get all those suffixes added on? Let's go to column 4. Word 1. Yes, incredible. What's word 2? Did you say aisle? Right, like the airplane had an aisle with seats on each side. Aisle. Word 3? Excellent, breakfast. Word 4? Correct, outside. Word 5? Nice, sideways. Number 6? Good, workout. Here we go. Column 4 the quick way. Incredible, aisle, breakfast, outside, sideways, workout. Now go to column 5. Scholars, all the words in column 5 are quite easy to confuse with each other. One of them in each pair is a contraction that's made up of 2 words that are put together. put together. So word one is the word we're, which means we are. Like we're going to the store. We're learning from home right now. But word two is the word were, right? They were going to the store. They were hoping it was safe to go back to school. Were. Take a look at that. We're and were. They're very similar. Then number three is the word wheel. Not like the wheel on your bicycle. The wheel that means we will. It's the contraction for we will. We'll go to the store. We'll continue to work in distance learning a little bit longer. But word four is the word well. Right? While distance learning is not easy, you are doing well. Well, wheel and well. Very similar also. Let's do column 5 the quick way. Ready? We're, were, wheel, well. All right. If you feel like you need any practice with your vocabulary, go ahead and press pause and read through those again to practice them. Otherwise, let's continue with our story. So today, scholars, part B, we're continuing our story. The title is Jupiter. By dinner time of the first day, Traveler 4 had traveled over 40 million miles. So how far had it traveled in less than a day? Right, over 40 million miles. Wow. The spaceship had gone past the planet Mars. That planet looked red. It didn't have many clouds around it, like Earth does. The flight attendant told the passengers about Mars, but Wendy already knew everything the flight attendant said. Wendy knew that Mars is smaller than Earth. It is also colder because it is much farther from the sun than Earth is. Scholars, let's check on a few of those things. So hold your spot. What color did Mars look? Right, red. And do you remember what colors Wendy saw when she looked at Earth when they were leaving? Green and blue and swirls of white, right? Streaks of white. Which planet has more clouds around it, Earth or Mars? I hope you said Mars. And which planet is hotter, Earth or Mars? I hope you said Earth. Why is Mars colder than Earth? Did your answer have something to do with it being farther away from the sun than Earth is? Good job. So everyone, look at the map of the planets on the next page. Remember where we're coming back to, though. The dotted arrow shows the path that Traveler 4 took. Everyone, is it going toward the sun or away from the sun? Right, away from the sun. So if the planets are colder as you get farther away from the sun, what's Jupiter going to be like compared to Mars? Yes, even colder. All right, let's continue. We're at the word sleeping on the new paragraph. Can you find where we were again? Good tracking. Sleeping on a spaceship was comfortable enough, but Wendy didn't sleep much that first night. So scholars, this next part is very important with today's homework. It was very quiet in the spaceship. Nearly all the lights were turned off. Wendy had moved her seat all the way back so that it became a bed. The only sounds in the spaceship were the buzzing sounds of the gravity device and the sounds of people snoring. Sydney snored very loudly. Do any of you snore? Raise your hand if you snore. I snore. Do you know who else snores in my household? My dog, Toby. He's a little pug, but he can really snore. All right. From time to time, Wendy went to sleep, but then she would wake up, feeling strange. For a moment, she wouldn't remember where she was. Then she would look around and remember that she was over 50 million miles from Earth, rocketing through space at 1,000 miles per second. Outside the spaceship, the sun shined brightly, but the sun was getting smaller because the spaceship was moving away from it. At 7 the next morning, the lights came on inside the spaceship, and people got up. People had to wait in line to use the bathrooms. They took showers, brushed their teeth, and changed their clothes. Then they exercised. Not everybody could exercise at the same time because there wasn't enough room. The flight attendants divided the passengers into 3 groups. The people in the front of the passenger section were in the first group. Wendy was in the second group. The first group got out in the aisles and did their exercises. They jumped up and down 100 times. They did as many push-ups as they could. They did sit-ups. They ran in place. They did stretching exercises. Some of the passengers complained. "You need the exercise," the flight attendant in front of the passenger section said. "We're going to be in this ship for a long time, and you'll get weak if you just sit all that time." Right? Scholars, that's also important for us in distance learning, right? We want to make sure we're not just sitting in front of our computer and sitting at our desks and our workspaces all the time, right? We want to find ways to get some exercise. Try to get outside, try to walk, right? Play in your yard if you have a yard, right? Try to get some sort of movement going. So, can you name 2 of the exercises they did? Let's see. Did you say any of these? Sit-ups, push-ups, they were running in place, they were jumping, they did some stretches. All right, scholars, we're at the paragraph where the blue star is. Now, the first group sat down, and Wendy's group got up. "Now we'll show you how to do it," one of the men in Wendy's group said. "We can do better than the first group." "Yeah," some of the other people in Group 2 shouted. So, Wendy and the others worked very hard at their exercises. After each exercise, somebody would shout, "We're number 1!" Some of the people in the first group were saying things like, "Boo for Group 2!" But they weren't serious. Everybody was laughing. Some people in the third group said things like, "We can beat both those other groups." Wendy was tired when the exercises were finished. Her heart was pounding, and she was sweating. Sydney said, "That was a good workout." Now, the third group was doing their exercises. "Boo!" Sydney shouted. "We were twice as good as that group." So, scholars, even though they're not really mad at each other and they're kind of just teasing around and having fun, right, because they're kind of cooped up on the ship, it still doesn't, to me, feel like this is the most virtuous thing for them to do, right? Maybe encouraging each other, right? Cheering for each other, even though they're on the separate teams. But luckily, they're just trying to have some fun with each other. Scholars, we are at the first flower. So find that spot, and I want you to pause and read the rest of this story to yourself. Be ready for my few questions. All right, let's see if you can answer my questions. If you're having trouble, it means you probably need to go back and reread, right? Don't try to continue without reading. Which group ate first? Group 1, or group 3? I hope you know the answer. And where was Wendy sitting? Hmm. The story then said that Wendy could eat a horse. Scholars, if you remember our work with figurative language, right? It's an idiom. It doesn't really mean she could eat a horse, right? I don't think anybody could eat a whole horse. And there's parts of a horse I don't think I'd want to eat. Ooh, right? What does it mean? What does that idiom mean? She could eat a horse. Have you heard anyone say that before? Oh, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Right, it means you could eat a whole lot, that you're very hungry. And scholars, there were some times in history, one we'll actually learn about later this year, where food was getting so low that some people in history had to eat their horses in order to survive. And you might remember when we were talking about the Jamestown colony, right, there was a time when they had to eat their cattle, right? And many of us eat cattle now, but their cattle, their goats, then their dogs, and then rats and mice in order to keep living, in order to survive, right? They were that hungry. So it's a way of saying that you're very, very hungry. How did Wendy sleep the second night? Now remember, if you don't know the answers to some of these, it means you should probably go back and start over at that flower and reread. And what did the pilot do to the spaceship that afternoon? Right, it turned sideways. So if this is the spaceship, right, it turned sideways like that. And when that happened, she could see Jupiter and how many moons of Jupiter's? I hope you remember. All right, scholars, join me at your packet work. All right, scholars, taking a look at the packet for lesson 59. On the first night, sleeping was very uncomfortable for Wendy. Why was it hard for Wendy to sleep on Traveler 4 on the first night? Give two. We're getting really good at this, aren't we? We're often asked for two, and you're getting very good at catching and writing two. So give two pieces of textual evidence. So again, what did we read in the story that supports this answer, right? That tells us it was hard for Wendy to sleep. So, why was it hard for Wendy to sleep on Traveler 4 on the first night? So, scholars, one way you could start this using words from the question. It was hard for Wendy to sleep on Traveler 4 the first night. Are you sensing my favorite word? Because Because, because, and, right? Because remember, we need two pieces of evidence. And Because, that's how you spell because. Gonna spell all day, gonna spell all night. Because, you better spell it right. All right, so scholars, this is a good way to start it. It gives us words from the question, right? Which is part of our grade. And it's going to help us make sure we're set up to give two pieces of evidence, right? That word and is going to help me remember. So here's the reason it was hard for her to sleep. And then a second reason it was hard for her to sleep. Check that out. Toward the beginning of the story is where that first night takes place. Then, do you have a hard time sleeping in unfamiliar places? Give an example. So maybe you don't. Right? You could say, no, I do not have a hard time sleeping in unfamiliar places. Or, yes, I do. One time, bloop, 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 bloop. Right? I have had that happen to me where I've slept, and then when I wake up, I forget for a moment where I was, right? And I think, where am I? Or the bed is less comfortable, or the pillows aren't the right kind of pillow, right? Or it's hot and I need it cooler. Like there's a lot of reasons, right, that it can be hard to sleep somewhere. And when you're in an unfamiliar place and you wake up, it can be stressful for a moment. So think about how you could answer number two. And if you don't have a hard time, it's okay to say that, but make sure you're writing a full, complete sentence explaining. All right. Thanks for joining me today for Reading Scholars. Tomorrow, we're going to go right to lesson 61. So we're skipping over 60 test and going right to 61 tomorrow. I'll see you then.